glad you guys are here today. The day after Christmas. The day after Christmas. That's an interesting day. It's always an interesting day, isn't it? And you have some wrapping paper that's kind of still there around the tree. Everything's not exactly tidy yet. You've got, a card was displaced from a gift, and you're wondering who gave you this, who gave you that. You have some new technology that someone gave you, but you don't know how to work it, and your kids will not tell you. All the type A people have already written their thank you notes already that are here today. And of course, as you look around the house, you see there on the table an empty milk glass and some crumbs that Santa has left. And you're wondering, when are they going to leave and go back to their homes? Day after Christmas. Unless you're in church like we are, it could kind of be, there's kind of a sense of emptiness, right? Because you have all the hype and all the expectation and all the big show we had here in the Christmas Eve service and Santa presents, this, that, family, food, friends, whoa, and then, right, the day after. The day after Christmas, 2021. Well, what happened the day after Christmas in 0001? What happened? After the first Christmas, what happened? I mean, I'm sure, Joseph had to go back to work, right? Eventually he had to go back to work. He's a carpenter in construction. He didn't get a lot of days off. Mary was a teen mom. She had her firstborn to deal with, a baby and diapers and crying and lack of sleep, all that fun. The shepherds, they went back to the ranch to do what they do best, and that's shepherd. The wise men went back to the university, and the innkeeper had to go clean up the mess that people had left in his place of business because he wasn't expecting it to be a place where a baby was born. Politics continued as usual. Herod, the so-called great, continued his tyrannical reign in the little area where Mary and Joseph and Jesus were growing up. Caesar still ruled from Rome and was taxing people to death that would make Washington, D.C. blush today. It's interesting, isn't it? It doesn't really seem like much has happened this first day after Christmas. It doesn't really seem like a king is born. Just another baby born into a poor home in a poor region. We really don't know a lot about what happened next as Jesus grew up. We know he was dedicated and in the temple. We do know that. But we don't know a lot about this Jesus that we were singing about, really. We don't really know that much about these early years. We don't know. We don't know what he looked like. He had a face. We don't know if he was tall or short or medium build or eye color. No, we don't know any of those things about him. And really from age 12 to age 30, they're known as the silent years. We don't know what happened as time progressed. We just don't know what happened. We assume that he went to work with his dad there as a carpenter in the construction business. His dad probably died at a young age, which made Jesus, the firstborn, responsible to provide for the family. We don't know a lot in those silent years what happened. We just don't know. But we do know this. We do know this one thing This one thing that happened. We do know this one thing that Jesus did. This one thing that I find really fascinating. It's Luke 2:52. If you have a Bible, you can open to Luke 2:52. If not, it'll be right in front of you on the slide, Luke 2:52. What did he do? Look at this. It said, and Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. We don't know what he looked like. We don't know his hair color, his eye color. We don't know what was going on in this 18-year period. We don't know. We're clueless, but we do know this one thing. He grew. Of course, he grew physically. He grew mentally in wisdom, and he grew socially in his relationship with others and his connection with God. Jesus grew. He grew. It wasn't like the Matrix. You know, he gets hooked up to the machine, download the entire Bible by memory, carpentry skills, right? Healing power. No. It's not what happened. He grew. He went to school. He studied the Bible. He memorized. He developed skills. He got splinters in his hand. He worked alongside. He was mentored as a carpenter in construction business. He went to work every single day. He went to worship on the weekends, every single weekend. He grew. He developed skills. He put in the hard work. God comes into the world through his son Jesus. And it's not abracadabra. It's not magic. It's not a lot of fanfare. No, it's through humility and through entering into the everyday world of our life and entering into the muck and mire of real life and hard work and school and going through the routine. But in this whole process, we know that he grew. He grew in wisdom, stature, and favor with God and man. So the question that we all have our brownie points and our extra credit for being here today. The question, though, for you and the question for me is, as we embark on this brand new year, 2022, will this be a year of growth for you? Will this be a year of growth for you? Will you be in a growth mode? Because God doesn't want you and He doesn't want me to stay stagnant, to stay where we are, or to cower in fear from the pain and suffering or challenges that may lie ahead for us. No, He doesn't want us to do that. He hasn't designed us to do that. That's not how He modeled it. No. He wants us to grow. He wants us to be in growth mode. So that's the question. Will we be in growth mode in 2022? I like to read a lot. I don't know why I do. I really enjoy reading. If you gave me the option, hey, you can go to a party and there will be all kinds of people there, even celebrities, right? You give me the option of going to that party or sitting home and reading a book. I'm sitting home and reading a book. And all the ladies are thinking, man, he's really boring. I'm glad. That's just me. I like books. I like to read. I believe what Stephen King said, that a book is a piece of portable magic. I've learned a lot from books. I've been challenged by books. I feel like I've grown in my life through books. And I would say one of the most influential books in my life outside of this book, the Bible, is a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was an Austrian psychiatrist and philosopher who was incarcerated during World War II in some of the roughest concentration camps, as if there were easy ones, but he survived Dachau and Auschwitz. And while he was in prison in these horrific circumstances, he wrote this book in his mind called Man's Search for Meaning. And in it, it's phenomenal. And he talks about how even in a very difficult, strenuous, horrific, hellacious situation like he found himself in those camps for years, he said, you still have the freedom to grow. And here's a quote from that book from Viktor Frankl. He says, between stimulus and response, there is space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And our response lies our growth and our freedom. God has given us this incredible opportunity called freedom, called opportunity, called the ability to choose our response regardless of feelings and circumstances. And in that space between, as Frankl says, is our ability to choose, and it's our ability to grow. To grow. Jesus grew. He calls us in our lives in all kind of areas not to stay stagnant, not to be flat, but to grow. And even in the midst of suffering, a season of suffering, God can even use that as a time of growth in our life. Another person that I follow and really just am amazed at his life is a guy by the name of Paul. And Paul, as a lot of you know, wrote a good part of the New Testament. And he just had an incredible life. He was a brilliant thinker and intellect, but also a guy who was passionate about his belief in God. And he'd been through a lot in his life. And here's what he wrote about growth in 1 Corinthians 15, verse 9. He says, for I am the least of the apostles and do not even deserve to be called an apostle because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace to me was not without effect. No, I worked harder than all of them. Yet not I, but the grace of God that was within me. I love that. Paul had a lot to overcome in his life. Paul was continually persecuted in his life. Paul experienced so much name-calling, so much ridicule, that Twitter would blow up 5 times over if he recorded all the hate and haterade that he had to drink in his entire life. He had physical problems probably. He had all kind of pushback in his life and the guilt and shame of his past. But Paul, by the grace of God, worked and grew and improved and got better. You couldn't stop the guy. He was tenacious. He kept moving forward. He said, this month, this year, this time, no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, is going to be a time and a moment of growth for me. He was always in growth mode. Love me some Viktor Frankl. Love me some more, some Apostle Paul. Growth. They saw their whole life as an opportunity to grow. And Paul says it so well. We can't grow. We can't develop in any area of our life unless God's grace enables us to do that. You hear him say that? Paul goes, hey, I worked, I got better, I improved. Well, it really wasn't me. It kind of was me. It was also the grace of God working in me. So as we face this new year, 2022, it's my prayer for you. It's my challenge to you. It's God's challenge to us that this year would be a year of great growth in your life. Empowered and enabled by the grace of God. Wouldn't it be great to look back a year from now, December 26, 2022, look back a year from now and say, wow, man, that was a moment. I wasn't expecting it the day after Christmas, but God got a hold of my life. And I just said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to ask God, where is it I need to grow in my life? What's going on in my life, God, that I need to change? Where's an area in my life I need to improve and grow on? Where is that? What is that? God, what does that look like? Wouldn't it be great if we started on that path today? Today. Then we can look back a year from now and say, wow, isn't that great what God has done? Isn't that great what he's done in my life? And it all started the day after.